Hi. So this is way out of my comfort zone, like way far. Like I've had a blocked throat chakra for most of my life since I was in single digits. So I've really had difficulty speaking in front of people unless I've been hired to do so. Then I'm kind of a rock star. That just is what it is. But otherwise, like in my day to day and content and things like that, even in conversations, I've had a pretty severe complex around my voice. Um, so that's the work I've actively been doing is unblocking my throat chakra. And so to be doing this right now, getting this spiritual prompt to jump on here like this right now is really stressing me out. Even had to fit the blizzy a little bit before I did this. And it's not because I'm afraid. It's because, again, my nervous system had been programmed to be afraid whenever I used my voice. And that was reinforced through trauma, so many traumas, abuses. I had so many abusers. And so sometimes my body still wants to respond in a certain way, even though my spirit knows better and the healing has taken place. So this is kind of a journey in healing for me in real time, I suppose. So I wanted to talk about friendship grief. And this is a thing that I had never thought about talking about publicly like at all. So this definitely was a spiritual prompting. My spirit squad was like, listen, somebody may need to hear this. This might help someone. But it's something that I have replayed over and over in my head until I started journaling about it. Then I was finally able to get it all the way out. And then, I did a lot of different things to heal from some pretty severe friendship heartbreak. And in my estimation, um, some of the friendship heartbreak was far worse than any romantic relationship I've been in. And that is saying a lot because I have been really wronged in all of my romantic relationships, actually. Never really had a good one and, had to heal from that too. But that was a direct reflection of how I felt about myself. I felt like I wasn't worth more than anything that I was already being given. Anything more. I didn't feel like I was worth more than what I was being given. My self-esteem was in the toilet. My self-view was a mess. I did not see myself as gifted, talented, any of those things, even though at every single step of my life that was my surroundings. So, for example, I got put into advanced preschool. Did you even know that that was a thing? I got put into advanced preschool at 3 years old because I could read. Now, we didn't have the language or diagnoses back then for it, but it was just because I'm neurodivergent and hyperlexia is one of my traits. So that it was just a brain wiring thing and not a particularly smart kid thing. In fact, I also have dyscalculia, which kind of balances out the hyperlexia. So anyway, that's what my whole life has looked like. Gifted and talented programs, all this performance-based affection. I felt like if I performed, people would not be abusive towards me. If I performed, I would be loved. If I achieved, I would be tolerated because I certainly wasn't respected, and nor should I have been. I didn't respect myself. So how was I to expect anyone else to respect me? And that was a lesson that was very difficult and long to learn. So, anyhow, I haven't really talked publicly about this healing journey that I've been on for the past 5 to 6 years. I've touched on it here and there, but I haven't really dived into it. So I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. It's at 4:44 right now when I'm looking at this. So we're at 4 minutes and 44 seconds. And so I'm going to try not to exceed 10 minutes because who wants to hear me talk for that long? I don't even want to hear me talk for that long. Okay, so it all started Well, I can't even say that. Let's just start in 2020. The end of 2019, I had some pretty big spiritual awakenings. I had started in what I've deemed my own little crisis of faith in 2017. That's when that started. And I was at that time a licensed ordained minister, went through ministry school and everything in an apostolic Pentecostal church. In that world, I was prophetess. Oh, the stories for another time, y'all. That's a whole other me that I don't even recognize anymore. It's so bizarre. Um, it's like a whole different timeline. I can't relate to who that person. I can, but I can't. It's weird. Anyhow. And so in 2017, I started having this crisis of faith. By 2018, I left the church. 2019, I was like, I don't think I align with Christianity. I essentially learned my way out of the faith through ministry school. I started doing my own research. I started, doing my own learning because, again, neurodivergent. So it became my special interest. And so I learned a whole lot. And I learned how the Bible is a sham. That's, again, another piece of content for another time. And so I ended up walking away from Christianity, but I did not lose my faith. So, and a thing that I took from Christianity was Christ consciousness, which is kind of universal. It's not necessarily pertaining to rabbit hole. Let me focus. Anyhow, so at the same time, my dad was dying. He had colon cancer. Waited way too long. I thought he needed to go to the doctor. He wouldn't. Long story short, I ended up taking care of him in my house while he was on hospice, and he passed away in my house while I was holding his hand in his head in September of 2019. December of 2019, I ended up going to the Red Rock Mountains in Las Vegas and doing a shamanic mushroom trip. This journey was so super spiritual, changed me. Yet another story for another time. And I do have a list of stories I do want to tell eventually. So now I come back from Vegas and I kind of feel like a superhero because it changed me fundamentally. I no longer had anger, depression, anxiety as responses anymore. And I did not even think that that was possible. February of 2020, I'm like, listen, I had already been having these conversations with my then husband, and I was like, this isn't working. I am unhappy. Listen, you're not doing anything to change. You don't want to change. You feel like I'm trying to control you because I've asked you to be faithful, and a variety of other things. The cheating was almost the easiest part. So I was having that conversation, and then by February of 2020, post mushroom trip, I was like, we're done. Absolutely done. There's no turning back. Zilch, zero, nada more. I cannot do this anymore, and I will not do this anymore. Then, not 4 weeks later, we're on quarantine and shut down, and I had just called it quits and we're still in the house, and now it's like, well, we're here now. So lots of hard conversations, but at the same time, my friend circle blew up because things just started coming to the light. Not that I didn't know. We always know, and I had known for a long time, but I didn't feel powerful enough, courageous enough, confident enough to make a move. And that has been in every relationship that has been bad for me. It's taken me a long time to get out of it. And so I did. And part of that was because there was some blatant, loud evidence of things. And that has historically been my cue. It's like my spirit squad is like, okay, girl, if you're not going to figure out how to do this on your own, we're just going to put some shit right in front of you that you can't deny. And that's exactly what happened. And so I was able to easily call it quits. Now, part of the things that came to light were things that involved people in my closest friend circle. And so there were people who were the closest to me, who I just loved so dearly, who I helped get jobs for, who I helped start their businesses, who I watched their kids, who I fed them regularly because we had a quite literal open door policy until 11 o'clock at night. If you were hungry, if you were tired, if you needed Wi-Fi, just walk right in. It was like our house was like a community center almost. And that was almost every house we lived in. And so the people closest to me, I don't even have to go into the details, but so there was stuff that they were doing with my husband. People were stealing from me. They had stolen out of my house. They had stolen my ideas. I had started some big events around my town, my city, and people poached some of the things that I mentioned I was going to do, like the subsequent ones, and it was just a lot, and it was really disappointing and heartbreaking. And again, by this point, I didn't have anger as a response anymore, but that would have almost felt better. Not almost, it would have felt so much better if I could have just been pissed. But instead, I was just devastated. I felt stupid and naive. And it was like, oh my gosh, I loved you all so freely with all of me. And you all celebrated me, seemingly, equally, reciprocally. Meanwhile, you're sneaking around with my husband. You're bashing my name in boardrooms. You're literally starting rumors out of nowhere. Like the most outrageous of rumors. There was one in particular, I'm not even going to name it to justify it, to bring that energy back into my field. But it was so outrageous and poorly thought through, but it spread like wildfire because that's what happened. It seemed scandalous. But, if they had did any critical think, the rumor had to do with some stuff that was supposedly continually going on at our home. But meanwhile, we had 5 kids, dogs, cats, and a literal open door policy. So if anything weird was happening, people would have seen it firsthand. But there was nothing to tell because the most scandalous thing that happened was that we wrapped watermelon in bacon and put it on the grill. Like we weren't, like my ex-husband, now he was doing the most. Absolutely. But that had nothing to do with me. I barely left my bedroom. I only left the house because I was so prevalent in the community, and so I was doing things community related, but then that stopped too because, again, all this came to light. So, friendship grief. When the people closest to you do things that you wouldn't even consider doing to them, like not even... It's disappointing and it's devastating, and especially when it's from the people who are supposed to be your ride or dies. When this all came to light, one of my very closest friends, I thought we had each other's backs through whatever. Like I thought she was going to be a friend to the end type of sister. I felt like she was my sister. And this is why it feels so devastating. But while this was all coming to light, we're on the phone one day, and I'm telling her about all of these things that are falling apart and how I'm hurting. And also how my mom had gotten COVID, and then I ended up getting COVID twice, actually. And I still don't fully have my sense of smell back. I'm at about 75%. And instead of any, like, any concern for what I was going through. It's like she was so eager to pile on. It was not, I'm sitting here like, I can't believe that the so-and-so and so-and-so did this to me. And I can't believe that my husband did this to me. And I don't know what to do because I just love everybody so much and I feel ridiculous. And my mom has COVID. And, COVID is in my realm now too. And her response is, did you get the vaccine? Which vaccine did you get? And then fast forward to, well, your husband was in my cousin's inbox and it made her uncomfortable. Ma'am, I'm literally telling you about stuff like this that's already been happening. And also, your cousin was in both of our inboxes. She was also at our house making passes at both of us. But listen, I don't care about any of that. What response are you expecting to get out of me right now? And next thing I know, I'm unfriended on Facebook. Okay, which is fine because I typically don't respond to stuff like that. I mean, social media is real life, but it's not real life to me. So like, I don't care about friends or likes or comments or views or anything. Like, it utterly irrelevant to me. If I put something out here, it's because I felt prompted to put something out here, and that's kind of that. But I know for other people, it's like the end all be all, and it's a way to make a statement without having to say too much. And so I'm like, oh, okay, is this a thing for real? And so I send a text and no response. And that's all I need. I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to do any of those things. I'm going to give you an opportunity to have a conversation. If you don't respond to that, then there's nothing else I can do. So that happened with her. And then the other person, who was maybe closer than even she was, had been blocked me on social media. I had no idea what that was about. Felt completely unprovoked, especially since we were still fine in person and still at each other's houses all the time, feeding each other, hanging out at each other's events, including each other when either of us hosted events. She had been blocking me on social media, but now, like, it's difficult to even talk to her. Later, I ended up starting this bookstore, and I didn't care about what had already transpired. I started the bookstore, I think that was 2022? No, 21, because 22 I moved to North Carolina. And so I started this bookstore in 2021, and, I put all my people on because that's what I'm gonna do. Not just because they're my people, but because I was surrounded by incredibly talented people. My entire friend circle were kings and queens and other royalty. Like, I was surrounded by top tier Black excellence. And so, of course, I was putting my people on. I had the opportunity to do so. Even the people who I already knew didn't care for me, had been involved with my husband, had started the room or whatever. I didn't care about that because I know how to separate that stuff from real life. I'm not about to, if I know that you have a talent that will fit perfectly into this hole, then here, come plug your talent right into it, please. My personal feelings have nothing to do with that. So, and we're all on our own journeys anyway. I'll get to that. And so I'm running this bookstore, and people are having mixed reactions towards me because this bookstore ended up being like kind of popular for a while. And so it got to the point where the person who I was just talking about, who was super close to me, I had come back to the bookstore after I had already moved to North Carolina. She spotted me, did a full 180 and did a sprint across the parking lot back to her car and left. Why are you running from me? You blocked me. I don't have any hard feelings towards any of y'all, even the people who did the shit. Now, that's what I'm going to talk about next, is forgiveness. I forgive preemptively. That's just how I'm wired. I know that humans are going human. So with every connection I encounter, I am expecting a human to be a human. I don't know how they're going to human. I don't know if it's going to be a level of humaning that's going to make me want to completely separate or just create distance or just show a bunch of grace. Each case is different. And so I understand that humans are going human. So I forgive people preemptively. But what I don't do is continue to have the same level of relationship and connection with them. So I can forgive you. You don't ever have to know that, because that's my own thing that I've processed for myself, because I have no energetic room to harbor ill will towards people. I want everybody to win. Genuinely. I want everyone to heal. The people who are fucked up are fucked up for a reason. Whether it's their wiring, their DNA, their circumstances, their traumas, their abuses, their habits, their addictions, whatever. We all have some version of that, whatever that thing is. And so I do generally show a lot of grace for all of that. And so it's like, I have already forgiven all of y'all. I don't got nothing bad to say about any of y'all, because that's just not my way. I ain't called near one of y'all out publicly by name, and I could have. I would have been justified in doing so, but I didn't. I had hard conversations where I needed to have hard conversations, whether that was personally, spiritually, or professionally. In some cases, all of the above. And I created distance, and I loved myself in a way where boundaries just kind of showed up, where it's like, oh, no, you have that energy that the way that I love me would never allow myself to have. I love you, and I understand where you are, because I've been there. Oh my gosh, I've been in some terrible, awful places, and I have been a terrible person. I've done a lot of healing, a lot of healing. And, I operated for years under exclusively trauma responses. I didn't even have a personality outside of that. And so I get it. And so all of this to say, healing from friendship grief can be difficult, and it can feel like the end of the world, and you are justified in feeling so. I am here to stand in solidarity with you and let you know that friendship breakups are shit. They're shit. And it is okay to feel that, and it is okay to process it however you feel aligns with you to process it, so long as no one is being harmed, including yourself. And I had to tell myself that too, where it's like, oh, no, I love these people. Love, not loved. Love. I love these people. But they were in that particular part of their human journey, and that's how I look at it. It's like, oh, look, that's where you are in your journey, and I happen to bump into that. Oh, I got burned a little bit, but I'm going to go over here and lick my wounds while you're still over there on your journey. Because I was the one setting people on fire not too long ago. So I can't be mad at you for being where you are on your journey. I can only control me and where I am on mine. And so I don't have any hard feelings towards anyone. And all of these people know how to find me. And only one has reached out. Oh no, I take that back. Two have reached out on some, one was just, I think she was testing the waters, but I don't think she liked that I didn't immediately gush and fawn like I normally would have. But that's just not who I am anymore. I was doing all of those things because I was wounded. And then the other one apologized. She was one of the many who slept with my husband, and she sent me this email, and it was very lovely of her and gracious. She didn't have to do that. I mean, even if it was motivated by her own ego, pride, conscience, grief, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. And I had already forgiven her. I've never stopped loving these people. Am I going to invite them all over for dinner? Probably not. Yikes. In fact, some of them don't even know where I live right now. And that is fully intentional. But do I have to harbor like hard feelings towards them. No, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that at all. So that's just my little 2 cents because, we're all on our journeys. And sometimes we're in alignment with the people who are beside us. And sometimes we're not. Sometimes we grow in different directions. Sometimes each of our spirit squads and spirit teams and guides and whatever we believe in leads us to do something else for whatever reason that's not really any of each other's business. So I just want everybody to heal and be whole and understand what love actually is, starting by pouring that directly into ourselves, because the standard that we love ourselves is the standard that others will love us. So if you're finding yourself in a bunch of toxic, abusive, harmful relationships, it's likely because you have toxic, harmful, abusive thoughts towards yourself. And again, no shame, because that was how I lived for my entire life until I turned 40. And I'm 46 now. So I've really been able to integrate some things. But I love you, and I hope that you are experiencing love and healing and understanding what forgiveness is for yourself. And, following your own intuition and listening to it and understanding that you are worthy and deserving of all of the good things simply by existing. You don't have to. Breathing is proof of your giftings. Okay? I love you so much. And talk to you next time. 27 minutes in.